Hey, Amanda.
Hey, Tommy.
Hey, you ready to get lit up?
Well, now I'm uncomfortable.
What did you just say to me?
Oh, we must be talking about Suits.
We are, and that's today.
Can we talk about?
I never liked you, Lewis. You're a vindictive, sniveling rat, but I never thought you'd betray your own firm.
I did nothing wrong. Jesus.
You bugged my office. You ran to Hardman about the CM lawsuit. You sold your soul for senior partnership. And once you got it, you created a drug policy with the sole purpose of firing me.
I did it for Hardman.
Maybe Hardman wanted me dead, but you're the one who went out, got the gun, aimed it, and fired it at my head.
And it blew up in my face.
And what would have happened if it didn't?
I was under orders.
But now that you've done what you've done, I will never trust you.
Can we talk about Suits?
What did you just say to me?
Off camera, guys, we just watched a TikTok where they did a compilation of the amount of times in the show someone says, "What did you just say to me?" And it is extensive.
It's just their go-to line. Because, I mean, you gotta remember, this was like the USA Network. They had a fill
2011,
time.
baby.
Was it only 2011? I didn't realize that.
Yeah. The first episode aired June 23rd, 2011. So happy anniversary belated to you, Suits. And so a couple reasons why we're doing this show.
Yeah.
Also, we missed you. Past couple weeks, we went to Denver for, I think there was a conference.
Yeah. We can talk about all the things we did in Denver.
Yeah,
we went
it was
for
incredible.
Fun podcasting conference, but while we were there, I've been to a lot of conventions and conferences and things in my career, and I don't like partaking in like the mandatory. It's not mandatory fun. That's like
It's suggested available fun. Yeah,
right. Because here's what it is: it's like people who work for these companies don't have any budget. They have like their per diem, and then the conference is like, "Hey, everyone, happy hour hosted by some random company who sponsored a thing," and people flock to it for all the free alcohol and whatever.
Which I would have done had I not been with the fucking. If anyone listening to this gets a chance to go on a trip with Tom, highly recommend it, because if you can find a cool thing to do in Denver and or its surrounding areas. We done did it.
Yeah.
So much so that I just did something in the city of New York, similar to what we did there. And I was like, oh, God, this is not nearly as good as Denver.
Well, I want to protect it, too. So we did Meow Wolf, which is great.
So great. If you ever get the chance.
Yeah, thank you, Meow Wolf Denver. It was just very trippy and definitely helps if you enjoy in all that Colorado and Denver has to offer.
Which I did.
We also did Flight Club, which is a place I'd been in London. I keep saying that a lot every time I talk about it.
Flight, not fight.
Flight, yeah. Flight Club.
Flight.
And it's really funny because I kept saying it, and then I found apparently their website or something officially does say this. It's Top Golf meets darts, and it's a lot of fun if you haven't done it before.
So fun.
It's a lot of fun.
We got to hang with our girl Lindsay from the Lyrics for Lunch podcast. If you haven't listened to that, go take a listen. Tucker. It was fantastic. She's awesome. And that podcast is great.
Yeah.
And also the Denver Biscuit Company.
Oh, man.
I would do anything for them to open Denver Biscuit Company in New York State.
When you go on trips, when you go places.
Yeah.
And everything's off, right? You're sleeping in a different place and you're up later and like because you're hanging out with people at this conference or a work trip, whatever it might be. You ever sort of like question, like, was it that good? Or was I just like hungover and like.
No fucking way.
Like,
it was strawberry shortcake on a homemade biscuit.
Yeah.
It was pure sex in a bowl.
Yeah.
And then I had the best breakfast sandwich of my life.
Yes.
And we stayed at the Gaylord Resort in Aurora, Colorado. And there was an influx, nay, I say an infestation of baby motherfucking bunnies. And the way that Dale, Tom, Kyle, and I lost our ever-loving shit when we saw these bunnies. We're like, ooh, 1. Is that 2? Wait, is that 3? Is that 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? That is not even being, that's not a hyperbole, people. There was plethora of bunnies on this grounds.
At that point, I had taken 0 gummies, but if I had, it would have been a lot more amazing.
It felt like we did.
I felt like I was on another planet. It's really funny. Like we went to Meow Wolf later in that week, but going back to like when we discovered, and apparently it's a thing. I think Lindsay Tucker from Lyrics for Lunch, she lives in Denver. And we were like, oh yeah, there's all these bunnies everywhere. She's like, oh yeah, that's a thing, which I didn't know. And we didn't
I didn't
know.
either.
And we went out to this field behind the Gaylord Rockies resort, and it's just a field of bunny rabbits just bouncing around, and like they're,
oh my God.
It was dreamlike.
Deal with
it was very. It was
I
weird.
was beside myself. I was making noises and squeaks that came out of my body that I didn't know that they could do, of just sheer glee.
Those are the tiniest bunnies I've ever seen in my life.
So tiny. It was a really good time. Yeah. We ate a lot of buffet style situations, just all you can eat food.
Anyone who's ever worked with or for me will tell you, I don't just like, oh, well, let's go out to a restaurant. It has to be an experience. If we're going out as like a team or business, whatever it might be, it's hot pot or it's I can't pronounce the we did do hot pot. And that was on a whim even. That wasn't even planned. But we never sat down. Sans like lunch at the resort when we didn't really have an option. We went to like the sports bar there, which was also very good. But everything else was an experience. We had to go to a place and have some kind of experience. So
it was fantastic. So
it was.
We missed you, but we're back, bitches.
We're back.
And on the plane, which might I add, Thomas, let me fly first class. Yeah. We looked across the row, and you said, do you want to do suits? And I was like, fuck yeah, let's do suits. Well, so that's what brought us to today.
Yeah, because the thing is, well, first and foremost, too, let me just, the whole first class thing. We were going from Denver to New York, which is a very short flight, which is what, like 3 hours, something like that? It's not a long flight. I don't remember the first time I upgraded to first class. I remember I had like back problems and things.
I do. So, it was 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah, when you did it for me.
So what happened was there was like one time I upgraded, and then there's that feeling. If you've ever flown first class, you understand what I'm talking about. If you haven't, you don't understand it. And you should do it once. Well, maybe you shouldn't, because let me explain. Once you fly first class, it is painful to go backwards. Like just that feeling, like, you know, when everyone's like gathering at the gate and shoving, like they're going to be like, they're rushing on the plane. Like they're going to be like, they're a flight attendant. It's like, get away.
I never get that. The fucking seats are assigned, guys.
Yes.
We are not rushing for front row. I don't get it.
And so when I get to the gate, and you experience this with me, is I'll like I won't stand up front, right? I'll let all the other people gather and shove and do their thing. But the moment they go on, they're like, okay, first class, now boarding first class. And you get to push through those people, like, get out of my way. You're not going on the plane yet. It is just like it is so fulfilling in my chest.
I was in peasant seating on the way there, and I was not in peasant seating because I was still in Comfort Plus. And I do want to just let everyone know, Tom told me to upgrade to first class on the way there. I did not.
To be clear, by the way, as we're spending the Gotham West company budget, the upgrade to first class was like $150.
Yeah,
right?
It was not extravagant.
Flight.
We're not talking thousands of dollars here. We're not flying Emirates.
Right.
But I did not.
Yeah.
And
you were stuck in the middle seat.
And I was in the middle seat because originally when we'd booked these tickets, Tom was on one side of me and Dale was on the other. Yeah. And then they went to cool people camp and I stayed in peasant camp, and it was fine. Peasant camp was fine. I'm good with peasant camp. But, this is another part of the story. It's a red eye. And I have to work the next day when we land my other job.
Yeah.
And we're talking, we're landing at 5, 6 in the morning in New York time. I'm taking an Uber, a train, a car ride, and going to work. Could not have been more miserable for me.
Which, by the way, I just want to point something out, because this is where I'll give credit to our lovely company, Gotham West, which I am in charge of. But you were like, I'm going to take the air train and do all this. I'm like, just take an Uber. Like, we have a corporate Uber account.
It's $9.
Right. And you're like, it's going to be a lot of money. I'm like, yeah, I know, but that's why it's there. Just go. Like, you had to travel. The shortest part of your trip was the flight from Denver, Colorado to New York. And then you had to go to work and home / in the same direction, which was just as long as the flight.
From landing to the time I got to the work situation, 5 hours.
Yeah. Right.
So anyway, the funniest part for me is we're a little punch drunk. It's midnight. We're in the Delta Lounge, folks.
Yes, I got that.
He got us in the Delta Lounge. And he goes to put his sweatshirt in his suitcase. And I say, aren't you going to need that on the plane? It's cold. And he looks me dead in the face, this motherfucker. And he goes, oh, you don't know. They give us blankets. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. Meanwhile, I've got a sweater and then a sweater that I've pulled out for my legs so I can wrap them up because I was so cold on the way there. And then a sweater I planned to wear, but another one I was going to use for a pillow. He's like, they also give us pillows. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry.
The best part about that, too, is you have yet to experience, like, because it was a midnight flight. Like, our flight took off at 11:59 p.m.
And I don't sleep on planes, so.
Which I normally do, and I could not sleep. I don't know. I don't know what it was, but I
do.
couldn't
It was
red-eye
the 8,000 milligrams of THC in our system.
Yeah,
that's why we could not sleep.
But I will say, you still haven't experienced like meal service and things. Because like when they make those announcements where they're like, oh, we'll have like a snack box available. That doesn't apply to first class, right? We get trays of food. Remember, I was complaining before our flight because I checked in, and this is Delta. And I'm going to sound like an asshole, but when you check in before your flight, like a couple days before, it's like, oh, select your meal. And I was like, they only have 2 salads on here. I don't want salad. I'm sitting in first class. I want a real meal. And then the day of on the flight, when you can like check the menu, it showed they had a cheeseburger. And so I waved the flight attendant. I'm like, and they come around checking like, oh yeah, you selected this. Is that still what you want? And I was like, oh, is there actually? He's like, actually, I have a surprise. He's like, yes, we do have a cheeseburger. He's like, let me go reserve one for you. And he did that. And I got my cheeseburger.
I do want to point out, Tom could not be the furthest version of a person who's like a dick. But when you do travel, you do it the right way. Because let's all point out here that Thomas worked in radio for a very, very, very long time.
Yes.
Where the free snacks in the lounge at your job was probably like, the snacks for the day for you.
Oh, my God. You don't understand. So I was going to say, I won't mention the company, but this is kind of obvious. But like, I remember Howard Stern used to get crumb cupcakes delivered every like Tuesday because they had like a Baba Booey cupcake or something. So they would like send troves of cupcakes to Howard Stern, but it would only to Howard Stern's team. And then when they would get through what they were going to have, they would give the rest over to us, minions on the other side of the wall.
In Comfort Plus. Yeah, gotcha.
And I would like shove one in a coffee cup for Dale to bring home because I'm like, I have to somehow figure out transport. But the thing is, like years ago, and I had a friend of mine, actually Jake Redman from modhop.com. I'll plug him right here too. He does lounge reviews. And I was flying business class the first time I ever did that from New York to London. And I was like, hey, it's a red eye. I'm going to get in and then I can't check in my hotel. It's too early. And like, what do I do? Like, is there a lounge? And he told me where to go. And I got off the plane and I go to the lounge. They're like, oh, hello, Mr. West, right? Which will check you right in. Here's your shower. You can go shower up. I got to change and shower. It changed my life. And I think people who travel might understand what I'm talking about is like, there's a difference between like going to like the Centurion Amex lounge and like relaxing, which I brought you to too. We just had, free drinks, free meal, like just some, delicious
wonderful
like
espresso
chicken
martini.
Thighs. You had an espresso martini. I had a French 75. Is that the one?
Yeah,
I always
good
get the
job.
year.
I'm proud of you.
I got
Good
it
job.
right that time. There's a difference between that and then going over to your gate and they're like, oh, first class, ready to board. And you just kind of push through the people who are like sweating and who just ran out of Hudson News with 4 water bottles and bags
That's
of candy.
literally always me.
Right.
What did I say when we were walking to our gate? I said, can we stop at a Hudson News so I can get water? And you're like, oh, honey, they'll give it to you as soon as you sit down.
Yeah. In fact, you still miss because of the way we were boarding and stuff, where it's normally like you have like a little champagne when you get on your flight.
What?
Like
I missed the champagne.
Don't worry, we'll find a trip to like LA or something, at least cross country, so you can do like the Delta one. Because that's the other thing too. Laying down on a flight, it changes your life. Like there's nothing like it. I've never.
I
was too excited to sleep.
Eventually we'll get to the reason why we have this podcast. But like a month ago, my mom's dream has always been to see the Northern Lights.
Yeah.
Her health is not the best, has not been the best for a very long time. I swear to God, she's the fucking bionic woman. And she wants to see the Northern Lights. I was on the phone with her and I was like, I just booked us 2 flights to Iceland on the 26th of September. So they're non-refundable. I didn't pay for the cancellation charge. So you have to go. And she's notorious for backing out of things. So I booked Budget Airlines play out of Stewart Airport. Like, we are not even allowed to bring a carry-on. We have to pay for it. And Now that Tom has done this to me, I'm like, I don't want to fucking do this.
No.
This is going to be awful. And we're going to Iceland.
Yeah. How long of a flight is that too?
It doesn't matter. It could be 10 minutes and I'm going to be fucking miserable.
Yeah.
Unless
it's an empty plane. Unless it's an empty plane.
It's not an empty plane. It's a budget airline.
Yeah.
You're kidding me?
Well, I will say this. That's the thing. Once I went, and this is, destroying me financially at the same time, to be clear. Once you fly first class, it's like, oh man, I don't want to go. I don't want to go to the back. I don't want to go back there.
If anyone is listening, do not ever offer Tommy a spot on a private plane. I will never financially recover from this.
I will say, well, two things. One, that entire concept of once you've been to first class, you know what it's like and you never want to go back, was a plot point in Seinfeld at some point where they were like offering like a flight in, and Elaine had never flown first class. And Jerry's like, oh, you don't want to do it because once you do it, like there's no going back. Like you've never flown. You don't know what you're missing. It's totally true. And then second, there goes commercial flights and then there's private, but there's something in between called semi-private, which is kind of popular right now, which people are getting on, like these like smaller semi-private jets where it's like kind of like first class, but that's the entire jet. And like, it's not that expensive, but they only fly to certain places. That's my next gig. That's the next thing I'm trying to figure out where I can travel.
You can't do that because I'm never going to be able to be like, let me reciprocate and get this for you.
No, but it's not me. It's Gotham West, so we're good.
That's fine. I'm just saying. You know what I got to buy him in Denver, folks? A fucking water bottle. That was it. It's the only thing I got to buy him.
You tipped our... Oh, we missed that too. We also...
I did cash. I was the cash king, girl.
Well, because all I carry are Amex cards, and that's it. Because I'm always trying to...
Your douche-ometer is fucking skyrocketing. We're losing listeners by the minute.
To be clear, it's for points, right? I only carry them because I want to earn points so that I could go and pay for my first-class travels that I couldn't afford otherwise.
Guys, I swear to God, he is very down to earth. Yes. Do not let this... This is tying into the show very well. Talking about douche-ometers.
Right. And so to bring it back to where you had already mentioned this, we were on the flight and I was looking through what I can watch, and Suits was on there. And I had just read an article about how Suits was like the #1 show on Netflix, right? It was like one of those things that kind of came out of nowhere. I will say years ago, a friend of mine named Roland, who was a talent booker at the company I worked at, loved Suits, right? Swore up and down it was like the greatest show in the world. It was his favorite show. And so it was like trending now. It's like, oh man, you got to be excited that it's like trending.
No, not only trending, Tom. There was over 3 billion minutes of this show streamed over a 3-week period.
Yeah, it's insane.
That's bananas.
It's funny to me that people are discovering it because you got to keep in mind too, one, it was a show that was on USA Network. So it's not even like a network show because there's been like a bunch of like network TV shows that people have like discovered years later. Like, oh, I remember people watched that or I heard about it. I will say I hear that about like Superstore from NBC. Mm-hmm. People talk about that a bunch.
My sister really likes that show and I've never seen it. Yeah.
But this is a weird one because it just sort of came out of nowhere. But you know what I attribute it to again? It's
Meghan Markle.
TikTok. No, not Meghan Markle.
Okay. TikTok 100% because I think I've talked about this on here. There's a medical show on there that I have watched hours of. I don't even know the fucking name of the show.
Okay. I have the same thing with, I see a bunch of Chicago Med on there.
Is that what it is?
Is it the one with the guy from, he's in The Bear? Oh, it's gonna.
Yes.
I'll figure it out.
Yes, that is the one.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
Chicago
That's Chicago Med. Yeah.
I'm talking, and Nanny Carey from One Tree Hill is on there. And she plays.
By the way, sorry.
Yes. Okay. That is the one. And I'm constantly watching it. And then it's like, oh my God. And the name of the fucking YouTube channel is like, Y2K4LP flower emoji. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, let me click on this fucking thing so I can find part 2, 3, 4, 7, 9, 12, and 15. Okay, that's fair.
I get that show a lot. I get The Good Doctor. I get a lot.
Same.
But I was also getting Suits. And I was getting the pilot episode. I never watched the show. Never watched it. This is a couple months back. So this is like, I want to say like 6 months ago. And I kept getting these like clips from the first episode. And I was like, I got to watch this. Like, you know, my friend Roland talked to me about it all the time. He always liked it. I'm down for like a legal drama kind of thing. And so I started watching it, and here we are. But I believe a lot of people found it that way, too.
I was an OG watcher. I love legal dramas. Fun fact about baby Amanda, since she was like 7, told everybody she wanted to be the first female player on the New York Yankees and a lawyer. That's all I wanted to be in life. Literally, that's it. That's all I wanted. I mean, I bought the LSAT study guide in Walden Books in our mall when I was like 12 because I was like, I'm going to be the world's best lawyer.
Okay, I'll tell you my one quick story.
Go ahead.
All right, so I was not a studious student. I don't know if that's even the right terminology, but I was not a good student. And this is in high school, and I had a crush on this girl, and she was like, I'm going to this after school thing. I never went to anything after school. Like I didn't go to school during school. Like
you were in the park.
Yeah, no,
school.
I left. Like there was like 8 periods, and like after 4, I was like, that's enough for me. And I left. But this girl I had a crush on was like, I'm going to this after school program. You should come. And I was like, well, okay, that's an invitation. Okay, yeah, sure, I'll come. Because I was a high school, awkward teenager. And it was this thing to moot court, it was called. So it wasn't mock trial. It was moot court. Did you have moot court in your school?
No, I don't think so.
So I think a lot of people know what mock trial is, which is literally like, it's a trial, but it's mock trial with Jay Reinhold. And then there's moot court. Moot court is the elevated version of that, right? It's like the more advanced version because you're arguing in front of a Supreme Court.
Oh.
This is oral arguments to a Supreme Court. No witnesses, nothing, right? I didn't know this at all. I didn't know what the hell I was getting myself into. So I show up to this after school program, and it is all these honor students who are coming to their teacher's class. I forget what class the teacher taught, but like it's like all the students she knows, and who's this weird kid that cuts class all the time and is failing
like
half his class.
He does not belong here.
No, not at all. But I think she felt bad because I wasn't part of the kids she knew. So she threw me a bone and was like, well, I have to include this kid. So she gave me the primary role of arguing a case. So like only 4 kids got to argue cases because there were 2 cases and there were 2 sides to each case. So the point of the case was to argue one side. My side or my case was, it was about Title IX. I might be getting this wrong to this day, but it was, they're separate but equal, right? So there has to be like a boys team and a girls team. There has to be like, equal of either side. Unless there's, and this is about sports teams at schools. So if they don't offer a gendered team, they have to offer like a unisex team or something. So the case that was that there was a lacrosse team at this school. And by the way, I'm from New York City. At a New York City high school, we don't have lacrosse. I didn't even know lacrosse was, right? That's
but you're close to Long Island, and lacrosse is basically, you get born in Long Island, they put a fucking lacrosse stick in your hand.
Right. But I didn't know that. I didn't know. I was like, I don't know what lacrosse is. This is alien to me. Some from kids from like the Midwest. But anyway, so the case I was arguing was for this girl that she should be able to be on the men's lacrosse team because there wasn't an equivalent female lacrosse team. And the school's argument was, well, there's not enough students to create a girls' lacrosse team. And it was dangerous for the girl and yada, yada, yada. The backstory to this entire case is that it was like it went to the courts and like there was an appeal. It went through appeal, went the opposite way. So now we made it ourselves to the Supreme Court. And the assistant district attorney came in to like mentor us. And I remember the guy telling me, he's like, wow, you're really good at this. Have you ever thought about becoming a lawyer? I was like, I can't even graduate high school. Like I'm stuck here forever. Like, become a lawyer. What is wrong with you?
You don't have to. Mike Ross didn't.
I know, but I don't have his skills. All I had was this. I can speak. That was all I had. And I'm not even good at that. So I'll never forget. I don't know what I did after school once a week for this program, but then the day comes when we're going on the trip. And my other teachers were like, I'm sorry, you're doing what? Like, you barely show up. You're going on a trip as part of a after school program. You're here after school. You're not here during school. And so confused the hell out of everyone. We get on this little school bus and we go to the city. And I'll never forget, on the school bus, they're like, hey, so do you have your arguments planned? And I was like, yeah, I got it in my head. And they're like, no, you have to write it out. I'm like, I didn't know we had homework in this after school program. I didn't know that. Like begrudgingly, I remember like the teacher, like someone had some extra paper or a loose leaf and then like a pencil. And I'm sitting there like writing my argument out. We're going to Fordham University in the city to argue in front of law students who are now pretending to be the Supreme Court. So oh my
God. And you've got these fucking nerds with you that are probably like hand typed, double space.
Yes. Yeah.
With their cited sources.
I had to borrow my brother-in-law's suit because I didn't own a suit, and it's like double the size on me. I look like the little rascals, like trying to pretend to get in.
No, that always reminds me of remember that episode of Doug where they had the band and they were all in like the big suits.
That was me. And so anyway, the best part of the story is this is my very Mike Ross moment. I go there, and because I can just confidently speak, I'm not even reading the paper, right? I'm just arguing my case. And again, because they're pretending to be the Supreme Court, so it's me versus some girl from like some other school, right? Because it's a competition. And so there's some like girl from like on a
probably
roll.
Spent her whole life preparing for this moment.
Right. She's up there. She gets through her like, little speech, and then they ask her a question and she's like freezing. She doesn't know how to answer it. Me, I'm going back and forth. They're like lobbing me questions, and I'm like, oh, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like just answering their questions. And I'm like, oh, it doesn't make any sense because of this law, whatever. And I knew all that stuff. It was all in my head. And I won. There was like 2 rounds, and I went up twice, and I won both rounds where like they ruled in my favor because of my argument. Because it's all based on the argument. It's not even based on like the rule of law. It's like based on who they think showed their case enough. And I got the highest score.
And then after, did you mic drop on the bus and you're like, I'm out?
No, I didn't even understand what was going on then.
That's
and then,
how
like,
Tommy do. I'm out.
I'm just there because a girl I had a crush on asked me to come, and I thought, maybe she'd like me. She didn't
Did it
like
work?
me. That was no, it didn't work at all.
Shit.
No.
Well,
but
things we do
anyway,
for love.
But it was funny because I got the highest score of the entire thing and the highest score our school had ever gotten just in my arguments.
You should teach kids how to not have to do homework and still succeed in school.
I mean, it took me, 5 years of high school is a lot.
Imagine you just stayed the 5th year in high school just so that you could have another year to go to this fucking thing and win every year.
You Van
Wilder it? Did you Van Wilder it?
I was in high school for 5 years.
I know.
Oh, you're saying I should have done it another year.
You should have Van Wildered it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying.
This kid comes every year. But it's really funny because I did love it, but I'm not a studious person. But I felt very much like Mike Ross. Mike Ross has talent, and he knows what he's talking about.
That opening scene, I will tell you. Okay, so I love legal dramas. I am a huge, any kind of crime legal drama I'm in. And so I will say that this, when it first came out, I was like, oh, I'm in.
Yeah.
But again, it's not like I could really stream it.
Yeah.
Like 2011 streaming was just maybe starting to become a thing. Not quite. I don't even know the accuracy on that. Yeah. And I was working all the fucking time. So I could never watch this live.
Yeah.
But I would catch up and whatever. But I have not watched it since.
Yeah.
We just talked about this. I think I stopped around season 6. And if I recall correctly, that's the season that Meghan Markle and what's his name leave, right?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. That's they leave at the end of, I think, or during season 6. No,
okay.
Season 5 is the one where Mike goes to jail.
He goes to jail. Season 6 is his where he's at the mercy of Frank.
Yeah, I'm just checking to make sure I got this right. I believe that's the case.
Season 6, I think they leave because at the beginning of season 7, no, I don't remember. Either way, that's when I left. I didn't stop watching it because of her. It's just like, whatever, that time of my life. And then 2018, 2019, I still can't believe that the show was on in 2019. Like, I didn't watch the last 2 seasons. Also, I don't remember a lot of what happened, but I got into podcasting and listening to podcasts. Kind of probably when everyone did. Like My Favorite Murder, I listened to their first episode, Serial. Like I really got into listening to podcasts in This American Life I had already been listening to. And they talked about the Innocence Project on a lot of the true crime podcasts that I listened to.
Yeah.
And in the show, Rachel's working on an Innocence Project case for one of her law professors or something. And it's like one of the plot lines of the show.
Yeah.
And it resurged my interest in the show. I'm not as well versed in this as I was with other shows that we've done.
Yeah. First off, season 6 is the one where he goes to prison.
Okay.
And then season 7 is the one I think is the last season for Meghan Markle and Patrick J. Adams.
Okay.
If I'm getting that right.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely is. Okay. Then season 8, they're not in it anymore. I've always loved like legal dramas. Like I loved, I don't know if you ever watched The Practice. I thought that show was really good at the time. And now it just seems a little preachy. I loved Boston Legal.
There was one where, Mark Gosselaar was in where he played like a public defender. I think it was only on for like a season or two and it got canceled. Yeah. And my mom and I watched it together. And it's like one of those memories I have where we fucking loved it. And we would like lay in her bed and watch it. We're like, oh my God, it's so good. Got canceled because I'm sure it was trash TV, but we loved it.
Saved by the Bell. No, that's not it.
It was a great legal drama.
Maybe it's connected, but like over the weekend, I was enamored by, I was like, I want to find some like good legal drama movies. And like my favorite is like The Rainmaker, right? Which is like, that's an easy, like that's like everyone's favorite. If you look up like good legal drama movies, The Rainmaker is up there. I watched A Few Good Men for the first time too.
I can't believe you just said that. So my whole life I said I wanted to be a lawyer. I saw A Few Good Men for the first time. Changed my mind. I want to be a JAG lawyer. So it was like ninth grade. Like I had a Marine recruiter that I was talking to. Like he would meet me at the track. Like we were working out. Like I was going to join the Marines as an officer and I was going to be a fucking JAG lawyer. That's all I wanted. And then they found a bunch of little tumor nubby nubs in my kneecaps.
Oh, geez.
And I started to get real slow at running and I started to get real slow at soccer. And I was in a fuck ton of pain and did not end up playing soccer the rest of my senior year because of it. And then was told I can't join the Marine Corps. So that's what led us here today, folks. But anyway, I just feel like the whole genre has kind of died off a bit, right?
I think for me, and I don't know if you feel the same way, like, you know, there's a few where like I can watch it over and over again. Like I mentioned like The Rainmaker is one where like I can watch it a lot. There are others where I'm like, once you know the story, like once you follow the thread and like the case unravels or it's not enjoyable anymore. And in trying to like chase this feeling of like watching a good legal drama on the plane ride, the aforementioned Red Eye, I couldn't sleep and I watched Michael Clayton.
Okay, have you watched any of the recent ones, though? Like Goliath apparently is very good with Billy Bob Thornton. Your Honor, people love that one. That's Bryan Cranston, right?
Oh, that's a series, though, right? That was like a limited series on Starz.
Also, My Cousin Vinny, how have we not talked about that? That's a great one.
You know, we got to get back to the actual suits. But like the thing about My Cousin Vinny is it's like the coloring of that movie or like there's something about the way it's shot that is very off-putting to me. And I can't put my finger on it. It's like the coloring or the cinematography or something. Not the content of it. It's just like the way it looks.
I just wanted to be as cool as Marissa Tomei in that series. She was like, they didn't have a Cadillac with that motor.
It didn't have the differential.
I will tell you, Aaron Brockovich, I know we got to get back to Suits, but that whole story, that whole movie, I was obsessed. Like obsessed. Yeah. That in another life, I would have followed those dreams. I would have still been a lawyer. I would not have let life get in the way. But so I am obsessed with these things. And Suits I loved because it kind of brought together that it's not trash television.
No.
And a lot of it, hokey for sure. Also, the whole idea that a whole law office only hires Harvard graduates.
Yeah.
They would be sued to fucking shit this day and age. Like, that's not going to exist. Number one. Number two, your license is on the line. Like you're disbarred if they find out that you're letting someone who's never been to law school and lying and saying that they had been to law school. It's okay if you haven't been to law school, whatever. But that whole thing, yes, you have to like push past that. Yes, it's a drama, but it put together all the things I loved about Grey's Anatomy, all the things I love about law dramas in general.
Yeah.
Put them all together. And like the people were really good looking. They're really pleasing to look at. Like everybody on that show, except for Liddy McLiddy's. He's unfortunate. But like the people were really good looking. And I liked the chemistry of the characters together. Like it's one of those shows where you're just like, oh, I love them together. Oh, this is so good. So it was a very comforting and good show. But also, I mean, I thought the storylines were really good.
Yeah, that's the thing I'll give the show is there's a lot of legal dramas that this show, the story of the week as they go, right, for these kind of shows, it's about a case. It's about the story. There's not like, there's the intermingling of like relationships in here and that, but like it's never the focus. It's always like the B or C storyline.
But I like that. I like when there's like some girly ass shit happening in the B and C storyline. I love it.
Yeah, no, that's fair. But what drives me as a guy who's into it is like, I want to see the cases. I want to see Harvey, win the case or whatever it might be. But yeah, and I will say the few things I caught, because again, I only watched the first episode, the pilot, a couple months ago.
Great pilot, by the way.
It absolutely really solidifies the story. Yeah. What makes a good writing for a show, and when we did a lot of the HBO series like Barry, we never talked about Silicon Valley, which I think we should at some point.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
There's some problematic history there too, but I think it's a great show. But what I will say is, going into, we were just talking about, the season, whatever it was, 6 or whatever, where Mike goes to prison. They don't let go of what happened in the pilot, right? It still haunts them throughout the rest of the series and stuff. So there's a lot that goes on there, which they don't let it go in a good way, because they paint themselves into corners and then have to figure out how to get out of it a lot, which is good. It's good writing, right? It's not just taking the safe road. And
also fucking great cast.
Yeah. Well, can we talk about Meghan Markle for a second?
Okay. I don't want to be canceled by an entire country.
No. Okay, here's the thing. One of the things that stood out to me, like putting aside anything else about, like, you're not hating on Meghan Markle as a person or anything like that, right? Especially, like, there was a point, and my wife Dale actually said this too, because we were watching, it was like season 4 and season 5, and she's like, she just exists, and maybe it's the way she's written, right? To be fair, right? Where every scene is just her being sad and crying because her case isn't going the way it's supposed to, or Mike's in prison, and she's like, it's just like she became just like she's just in a scene to cry and sell the point that there's something sadness going on.
I think she became that because in the beginning of the show, like pilot season 1, season 2, you automatically get this thing as like, oh, you don't fuck with her. She might be a paralegal, but like she knows more than half the lawyers in this office.
Right, but isn't that kind of Donna's character though eventually too?
Yeah, very much so. But I don't know what happened, but they it's like she fell in love and all of a sudden she's this damsel in distress.
Yeah, exactly.
But she was written, like, to me, I remember watching it, I was like, oh, she's a fucking badass in this world of law. And I really liked that about the pilot episode. It's like, oh, it's not just a bunch of dudes that are lawyers. There's women in this show too who are just as badass. And I think you're right. I think it's how she was written eventually into the show. Yeah. But I mean, you could feel towards the end that she didn't want to be there anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't blame her with what they did to her character.
Yeah.
But she still speaks so insanely fondly, I think, from documentaries and stuff that I've seen. Like, she loved being on Suits.
Oh, yeah.
She loved Canada. Like, Canada saved her during all this drama that she went through in her life. She feels like Canada's home to her because that's where they shot the pilot in New York City. Everything else was shot in Toronto.
I know. Can I just tell you?
Everything shot in Toronto.
Can I just tell you, again, I'll reference my wife again, she's like, I would never notice these things had you not pointed out, but now I can't unsee it. Like, it's all I can see. There was a shot, and I got to go back and find it, in one of the earlier seasons, like season 2 or season 3, where, again, the show is supposed to be set in New York.
Yeah.
They film it in Toronto, which is, by the way, a beautiful city. If you've never been to Toronto,
absolutely
fun city. And there's always like one New York City taxi cab that they have in the stock cars that just drives back and forth in every single scene. It's the exact same taxi. But I mean, I'm from New York City, born and raised, so like I can tell like that's not the right street sign. I know it's not. And I remember watching the pilot and being like, that's Park Avenue. They're running across Park Avenue, and trying to figure out like, oh, is this building that they're filming in front of something they filmed back when they did the pilot for like season 1? But like, it was like, no, they filmed everything else in Toronto. But there's one shot, and I got to go back and find this, so we can post it on like Instagram or something, where Jessica is in front of the building and she's on a street somewhere and she's having a conversation. And the director of this episode, this moron, decides, hey, look, there's the CN Tower, or whatever it's called in Canada. It was called the, it looks like the Space Needle in Seattle. They're all like the same looking thing. I always get them confused. If you could just double check, it's called the CN Tower. I don't want to offend our Canadian friends. And then he just framed it. Like he shot upwards. So like it's Jessica and whoever she's talking to. And then there's the CN Tower just center framed. Like, oh, it's a pretty shot if you're not trying to pretend you're in New York.
What were they going to say it was?
Someone clearly just missed the thread and was just like, oh, I'm directing an episode of Suits, and didn't even know where it's supposed to be based. I don't know. It bothered the hell out of me because I'm like, it's one thing if you're being creative and trying to like find places. I have found, by the way, there was a restaurant that Rachel and Ross go to, or Mike, I don't call him Ross. Rachel and Mike go to.
That's a Friends episode. Would you like to do that next?
Ross and Rachel. That's why I did it. It's Ross and Rachel.
Yeah.
Michael, Ross, and Rachel. But it was a real restaurant in New York City. It's closed now. But at the time, it was a real restaurant. So I did appreciate some of that detail that they did do. And it's always funny where it's like the scene transitions. It's like stock footage of New York City. And then it's clearly Toronto streets that they're walking in front of. I don't know.
Yeah.
Funny.
One of the things that I saw that, like, because she does talk about it, like, again, I'm not one of those people that like knows a lot about the royal family, but I have watched and read a lot of books and watched documentaries and stuff. But
and fair, your husband looks like he's part of the royal family.
He sure does, my little baby. Meghan Markle talked about how the show was like home to her because Canada was so good to her and such a beautiful city and that kind of stuff. And also, once I knew watching the show that it was shot in Toronto, because that became like a really big talking point about the show. It's like Canada was really proud that this was all being shot in Toronto.
Yeah.
And because I was watching it live, I was like, yeah, that's not fucking New York City. Not only that, not even the apartments that they live in are like New York City-esque. Like, that's too fucking nice, dude. The hallway of that is not a New York. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And did you know that this show, like, fun fact, this was supposed to be called A Legal Mind? Obviously nod to...
I did know that. I actually did know that. I don't know
to
why
Mike's character. But I think it was that. And then one of the other fun facts that I had read when we first decided to do this on the plane is that Jessica's character was originally male, which I'm glad they went with a badass black lady.
Gina Torres.
Oh, God. She's so good. I fucking love her. She's so good.
Can I just tell you, too, Louis Litt.
We just have to talk about him. Should we just have a Louis Litt episode? It's about to be lit.
Let me just tell you, there was this show that I really liked. I feel like it deserved better. It was a show back in 2005. So this predates Suits, obviously. But it was my first introduction to Rick Hoffman, who plays Louis Litt. The show was called Jake in Progress. It was a starring vehicle on ABC for John Stamos, where he played the title character of Jake, who's just like this womanizing dude, right? And then he befriends this weirdo, wacko dude named Patrick Van Dorn, which is Rick Hoffman's character.
Okay.
And he's just off the wall and weird and zany. He's sort of like a antagonist, but like he definitely is there to kind of shake up Jake and make him a better person. But the cast on that show was also stacked. Ian Gomez, who has been in a bunch of different TV shows. David Hornsby, who is from Rickety Cricket from It's Always Sunny. Mm-hmm. Julie Bowen, who would go on to do other ABC shows. Christina Hendricks was on the show. Kevin Hart. Like, it was a good show. It was like a fun, whimsical show on ABC. But I remember, like, I was like, oh, who is that guy? That guy is weird. And Rick Hoffman kind of looks like this other actor whose name I can't remember now, that I always confused the two when I would see them in things. But he only really appeared in that TV show and then Suits and then the spinoff, which we'll talk about at some point. But I never saw it and I don't really know much about it. But the Jessica Pearson spinoff.
I didn't watch that either. And, you know, when I was doing homework for this, I read a Hollywood Bazaar article that said that when the creator of Suits, Aaron Korsh, he had worked on Wall Street.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So when he wrote the spec piece for this show, he wanted it to be like a half-hour long entourage type show based on his experiences working on Wall Street.
So wait, before you continue, was it supposed to be about Wall Street instead of law instead?
I think so, maybe.
Okay.
But like he said, like as he wrote it, he was like, oh, this show's going to be an hour long. Each episode's going to be an hour. And I think that's where he got more into the law base of it. But having known that now, if you've never been to FIDI, if you've never been down to the financial district and been down to Wall Street
and
seen the Mike Ross copy pastes and Harvey copy pastes walking around, and Litt copy pastes walking around downtown Wall Street.
Yeah.
It's hilarious now that I know that, having done this. I was like, oh my God, his experiences are written all over it. Like, there is definitely that bro code written into it, which is why I like that there are female leads in this show that are really strong. And he said he wrote this because he worked for a guy just like Harvey. And that he himself was more like Mike Ross. He had a crazy memory and loved to smoke weed.
Yeah.
Like, we don't hate that. But I think, too, that there's a lot of kind of sad, maybe, that Meghan Markle, obviously, she went on to become what she became and, you know, the Duchess and all that kind of stuff. But there's a lot of really cool facts about her in this show and a lot of her character. Meghan Markle's first name is Rachel.
Is it really?
It is Rachel. She's obsessed with food. So her obsession with being a foodie came into the show. Her like farm to table vocabulary they use. She wore all of her own jewelry in the show. And like she had a lot of input in like how the show went. But like you just said, didn't you feel like towards the end of what we watched, it did not feel like she wanted to be there anymore?
No. In fact, as you mention it, like all like the foodie stuff and all like the little nuances to her personality.
That ends.
I felt it disappears completely.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, I thought they overplayed a little bit in like the pilot where he like comes in and he's like, whoa, who's this bombshell? It's like, all right, like it's fine to like think that she's attractive and be into her, but like they made it like, oh my God, she's the most beautiful. And you know, and to be clear, maybe this is just my own personal taste. Donna walks by at some point too. Like he met Donna. You know, I mean, in the Office scheme of things, I'm going down a path that sounds way worse than I. No.
I know what you're saying.
I just meant
like
that
there's
like
other smoke show fucking women in that office, and you didn't have the same reaction.
Exactly, and it's like, all right, Meghan Markle, like okay, it's chill out, but yeah, you're totally right. Like in the beginning, there's all like the stuff with her and her father, and then like wanting to become a lawyer and determining like that, and then like there's that. You know, she's not going to be able to go to Harvard, but she wants to work for the firm. So like, how is that clash and all that stuff, which is all totally fair. And I think good character building. But again, yeah, you're right. At some point, the show leans way heavy into just their backseat character at some point. And even Mike's character to some point, right? Like, I think once they write themselves out of dodging Mike's past and lies, then it's like, all right, what do we do now?
What do we do with him now?
All right. You know, and it's just like, hey, we want you to come back, work for the firm. You're not really a lawyer. You'll just be a consultant now. It's like, okay, we just can't hit reset on it and just pretend like the first 5 seasons didn't happen.
And also like, I mean, she said that she really related to her character because they're both really like insanely hard on themselves to the point where it's like almost you don't like the person because they're so hard on themselves. It's like, I can't hear you do woe is fucking me anymore. Yeah. And she said that's very accurate to who she is as a person. And it's like, you know, I get it. Fun fact about our boy, though, Patrick Adams, who plays him, he's a huge photographer. So all the pictures in her office and Rachel's office were taken by him. Huh. That's a little fun fact. And also one of my other fun facts that I have in my notes here that I think you're going to love the most because you were just talking about him. So I had to tell you this. 2 fun facts. 1, our boy Louis Litt, his character, fucking loves cats, right?
Yeah.
Rick Hoffman, so deathly allergic to cats that every time he had to film a scene with them, they had to have EpiPens, inhalers, and everything at the ready because his allergic reactions were so bad. Why not just write out the whole cat thing? Give the guy a fucking hypoallergenic dog or something. I don't know.
Can I just tell you too?
Why
the
put
one
him
thing
through that?
I mean, that's the thing. Yeah, it could have been puppies. It could have been anything else. I don't know.
A fucking canary, for Christ's sake.
Yeah. Also, can I just point this out? I just want to read this for a second. Patrick J. Adams, his Instagram profile. Have you read? Have you seen his Instagram?
No. I'm nervous. Is it going to make me hate him?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, I'm assuming he means this in jest, clearly, but he says the guy from that show you're watching on that app because that girl married that prince. And all his recent photos and stuff is him just like doing the van life thing, which is hilarious to me that he's just like running around wherever, just living in a van with his dog.
That is so funny. Well, Gabriel Mock that plays Harvey, his whole family's fucking lawyers. Isn't that hilarious? Like his whole family is lawyers.
Can we talk about him for 1 second too?
Yeah.
Because what's really interesting to me is TikTok was doing that thing again and suggesting shows and things where it was like showing you clips. And there's one clip from a show that keeps popping up and he's in it. And it was from another Canadian TV show called SWAT, the firefight, where it's like, it's some Canadian like cop drama thing that he was in. So
okay,
that's all I got. That was it. But
well, I was just like looking through the article I had my notes on, and they said that the New York skyline that they use for this show, this is going to drive you fucking insane.
You mean like out the window, like in their offices? Okay, yeah,
yeah, like the backdrop. They basically painted for everyone's office. They had painted on shower curtains.
Yeah.
And this article says it was obvious.
Yeah.
And also, you know what's so funny is like, I know that Katherine Heigl gets a really bad rap. And like everyone says she's like very hard to work with and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. But I feel like what we had in Katherine Heigl probably on all the shows that she was on is she was just like a woman who wanted to be paid the same as men and wanted to be treated a certain way. And like, good for you because you're fucking hot and you're a great actress. But she petitioned to be on this show. Like she wanted this role. She made it happen.
I'll give you a little inside scoop on Katherine Heigl.
Don't make me hate her because I started liking her again. Okay.
No. I will say this to give her some credit from some things I know about, which is like, someone told me, a friend of a friend, yada, 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 believe what you want, but I'll tell you this. So her mom was her manager for a long time.
Yes.
And I think her mom is who gave her the bad rap.
Okay.
Because similar to a lot of other famous people that I've worked with, the person is fine. The mom is the one who's like, oh, that's not what Katherine wants. Katherine wants this. And Katherine's not even aware of what's happening of the conversation. So I think a lot of it was mom being bulldog, trying to get her daughter everything that she thinks she deserves.
Like a mom would do. Yeah.
Yeah. But a manager probably has a lighter touch.
Yeah.
Yeah. And probably understands that like me running around town, bitching people out, saying, this is what Katherine believes is going to make people repeat that. Oh, never going to believe what Katherine Heigl said, even though it came from her mom's mouth.
What did you say to me?
What did you just say to me?
What did you just say to me?
Also, do you pick up on the fact of like, I think it was around like season 5 or something like that. They're like, you guys can like drop like shit every once in a while if you want. Or like, they don't drop F-bombs, but like USA Network was clearly like, you guys can open it up. You're on past 9 now. And then like, like the only curse word in their entire vocabulary is shit every once in a while, but it's always like once per episode,
The way I would get fired from television, folks. Did you know that Harvey and Zoe are married in real life?
Wait, who's
Jacinda Barrett and Gabriel Mock? They're married in life, like in real life.
Wait, who's Zoe?
She played Zoe. Zoe Lawford, which also like, what a last name.
Wait,
like, really? That's what you came up with?
I don't remember her character.
She's like early on.
Why don't I remember?
From his past, from Harvey's past, like the hometown girl that he had
I thought that was. Oh, okay. I always get.
You know what I'm talking about? She's like, she's pretty. She's got like lightish brown hair.
Yeah, I'm looking at her right now, but I was thinking.
Okay. Let me
Dana
pull up
Scott,
a picture of her.
Who was the one that was that even her character's name? What was her character's name? No, she had another like nickname in the show. Who was the other girl? The one that comes back, and she like works for the firm for like half a second.
Oh, I don't remember her.
And he has like an on again, off again with her.
I can't remember how much I've remembered of this show. So like up to this.
Clearly we didn't do our homework. This is mock trial all over again. I didn't do my homework. I didn't write anything down. I just winged it. No. And the other thing too is there's so many like shipping little like videos and stuff, as the kids say, all over TikTok of Gabriel, Harvey Specter, and Donna.
Well, we haven't talked about the sex scene in the file room.
Oh, between Michael, Ross, and Rachel?
Yeah, Ross and Rachel. That took 8 hours to shoot, and that was his first sex scene.
To be clear, it's also a sex scene for, I will say,
USA.
For USA Network.
That was pretty scandalous.
Yeah, it was pretty scandalous.
They said this was their most profanity-laden show ever out of USA Network.
Really? Did you watch any of the other stuff that around that time, too? Like Burn Notice or...
No. I don't think so. Can I tell you the one, like, thing that really annoyed me with this show. Like the one,
With that
you
sex
have a
scene?
plot. Nah, I mean, I'd fuck both of them, so
Yeah.
it's fine with me. But like, just really annoyed me because I don't think it's real, and maybe I'm wrong.
Okay, go ahead.
But the whole way that you find out that Mike didn't go to fucking Harvard. Do you remember this?
The way it's revealed, or
He
there's
didn't
a few
have
ways.
the fucking key or know about the key to the Harvard's like order of the fucking something or other. Do you remember this? Order of the coif. Order of the coif.
All right, so I remember when they were quizzing about the pizza, right? They were having like a little quiz with the.
Lewis realizes that Mike doesn't know. He could never have attended Harvard Law because he doesn't know about the order of the. Why can't I not say that
Is it Order of
fucking
the
word?
Phoenix?
Order. So make me laugh. I won't stop. Order of the coif.
Quaff.
It's like a fucking key from this special, whatever. I was like, that's not real, right? Like, that's not a real thing for Harvard. That cannot be real. Please tell me that's not real. Order of the Queef? Is Order of the Queef real or not, Tom?
I mean, if that's how it got its name, maybe. I don't know.
It can't be. Like, I was watching it. I was like, that's not real. Like,
Sure, you can get one on eBay, right?
well, I don't think it's a real thing. Please, someone in the comments tell us, one of our very many Harvard law graduates, if they could tell us in the comments.
Okay, wait. Okay, hang on. I might have an answer. Okay. It says, okay, so the Order of the Coif.
No,
whatever,
call it the Queef, please.
Queef is an honor society for the United States law student graduates. The name is a reference to ancient English order of advocates, yada, yada, yada.
It's real?
Okay, it's real. However, it says something somewhere else. It says, however, Harvard Law School is one of 5 top 50 law schools that has never had an Order of the Queef chapter. I said it for you.
Okay, well,
Meaning Harvard graduates would never be in the order or receive keys.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, I remember watching it. I was like, what is this, a fucking episode of Gossip Girl? Yeah. Which I love.
Yeah.
But I was like, come on, Chuck Bass. What are we doing here? Also, I think it's really fun that Harvey and Donna were like never meant to have a romantic relationship, but because of fan interference, they wanted it so bad. They wrote it in. I love that.
What's funny too is, I don't know if this is true, but apparently her and Gabriel, how do you pronounce his last name?
I kept calling him Matcha Tea, so that's not going to help anyone.
They've known each other since like the 80s. I don't know if that's true.
That's probably why their chemistry was so fucking good, because their chemistry was great on screen. It was fantastic.
Yeah. Before we wrap up too, can we just talk about all the amazing guest stars on the show and people who
that's what I was saying before. Incredible. Rachel Harris. Are you kidding me?
I love Rachel Harris. Abigail Spencer was the one that I was referencing before. Wendell Pierce?
Yes. He played Robert Zane.
Oh, love Robert Zane. You got to use the character names. I don't know who these people are. Neil McDonough, who plays, Assistant American USDA.
Sean Cahill.
Sean Cahill. I loved him in that. I love it. He always comes up as a character actor in a lot of TV shows, playing the bad guy and stuff. I loved how he sort of like played a pseudo like good-hearted guy.
Absolutely.
Playing hardball.
Yeah.
Daniel Hartman, David Constable.
Oh.
Who comes up in a bunch of stuff. And I forget what else he's been in, but he's been in like so many things. He was in Breaking Bad. Did you watch Breaking Bad?
Yes, I did. We have to do that, and we have to do Better Call Saul, and we have to do all the things.
Yeah. But he was Gale, the chemistry guy. Yeah. He's a great character actor. He comes up in a lot of stuff. He's also in Billions now, which I also keep seeing a ton of TikToks for. And I was like, all right,
me
TikTok,
too. And I think I would really like that show. I have to watch that. Abigail Spencer. Are you kidding me?
Yes.
Love her.
What was her character's name? Because
Dana Scott.
No, but Harvey had a nickname for her, and I can't remember what the nickname was.
I don't remember what it is.
I gotta find it.
By the way, my best friend has just discovered Suits, and she's probably going to listen to this episode on her first day of teaching tiny humans tomorrow, screaming at us. All the shit we don't remember.
Scotty was her name, by the way. Sorry. I had to shout that out. Yeah, she was Dana Scott, but they called her Scotty.
Gary Cole.
Gary Cole is great. I love how
fantastic.
He's like
everything
guy.
He's in is the best. What?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I cannot think of this. Talladega Nights. His character in Talladega Nights like cracks me up every time.
Yeah. I love Gary Cole. Gary Cole just being like his voice in things is good enough for me too.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
He's great. Can I also tell you how much I don't know why I love this so much, but remember like in the first season or two, you have like all like the other associates in the bullpen. And there's that kid Harold who just like, Mike helps out or whatever, but he's like kind of like a booger, but like he gets him a job and like tries to help him and stuff. And he comes back. He's like, I'll lie for you, Mike. Like he'll just, do anything. I love the fact that like he seemed like a one-off character. Like, all right, cool. We got what we got out of him and he was fired and gone. But like they kept bringing him back to like, just like, which I love that to kind of show like, yeah, like these kids growing up being associates, they bonded, off, even if it's off camera, and just like became friends and like hung out with each other. And I love that. It's such a good...
Something just happened that I need to discuss with you.
Okay.
I don't know how to wrap my head around this. Okay. So I'm looking at the cast list and I'm like, oh, Eric Roberts. Like he's like a small character in a lot of things. Yeah. I click on him. Because I want us to be like, oh, Eric Roberts. And like, what has been in so that I can reference so that we can talk about it. Siblings Julia Roberts. How did I not fucking know this?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
No. Oh my God. That's an episode for another day, but apparently they don't talk anymore.
Oh, really?
I guess so. They had a falling out.
Well, I'll tell you one better. You know who his daughter is?
Now I'm uncomfortable. Who?
Emma Roberts.
Mother of Christ. They have the same name, Amanda. They have the same fucking name. Wait, there is a universe where I knew that Julia Roberts was Emma Roberts' aunt. Yeah. It was one of those like Nepo baby posts, which could we do an episode of just on Nepo babies, like pro cons? Like, how do we feel about this? Yeah, because sometimes I feel myself being like, who fucking cares who got you there? It's just great that you got yourself there. And then I watch episodes of things and I'm like, how the fuck are you acting in this and not other people? Yeah. You're awful.
I will say there are some where I'm just like, okay, he's fair. He's allowed to be here. I think that's fine. There's others where I'm like, no. Like one I'll give it to is, have you watched The Boys?
No, but actually, we were just talking about the fact that we have to watch The Boys. We think we would like it a lot.
Jack Quaid.
Okay.
Who's on there. He was in the
Dennis Quaid's kid
as well. Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan's kid. Yeah.
Okay.
But really good actor, very charismatic. Love him. He deserves to be in all the things.
That's how I feel about, what's his name? Oh, God.
We're firing on all cylinders.
Euphoria. Guys, I had a really long weekend at my not so fun adult job. She's in Euphoria. Her dad is a great comedy writer. Why can I not remember this? Ooh. Her mom is, come on, Maude Apatow. She's fantastic.
Oh, Maude Apatow. Okay, yeah.
She is fan-fucking-tastic.
Yeah. Well,
ultimate Nepo baby. But she's fantastic. Yeah. She's so good. I know you haven't seen Euphoria, right?
No, I haven't. But I know Maude Apatow because she was in King of Staten Island was the last one I saw her in as an adult.
Highly recommend Euphoria.
Yeah.
Your wife's going to hate it.
Yeah.
You should watch it alone. But really great show.
Yeah.
But she's fucking killer in that show. And also was really funny when she was a little baby and knocked up. And she has that scene where she's like telling where babies come from. I think about that all the time. And I just cut up your belly and then they put it in there and it comes out your butt.
Can I just tell you, I've interviewed a lot of celebrities over the years. A lot of where the audio is gone forever and things. So, trust me, bro, kind of thing. But I really did. Can I just tell you, there was like one where they're like, hey, would you mind doing this interview? And I was like, yeah, fine. And you're like, who is it? And it's like, oh, it's some girl who was like from the Disney Channel or something. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. Whatever. I'll do it. And like, it was sort of presented to me like, oh, there's nothing really going on, right? Like with her career, just kind of like she's going to be in some small thing, which I got to figure out what it actually even was at the time. Or it might have even been her music career, but it was Zendaya. And I was just like, I just kind of like showed up to the interview like I show up to these things where I'm like, oh, hey, yeah, cool. Like, what's going on? What are your favorite things? Cool. Great talking to you.
I love Zendaya.
And she was really nice in person, but I was like, I didn't know what to talk to her about. They're like, she's from the Disney Channel.
Oh, okay. You're like the biggest star ever. That's fantastic. Wonderful.
But they presented it to me as she's
a nobody.
Yeah, exactly. So how was I supposed to know?
Okay. Watch Euphoria and then be like, oh my God, give this girl every role that's ever been fucking written. She's incredible.
I had to go back and look. It was from her music career because it was when I was interviewing her for her music career. It was back in like 2013. So,
well, it makes sense. And her and little Tommy Boy have a very cute relationship. I love it.
I love it too. But anyway,
that's Suits, folks.
That's Suits. There's not a lot to talk about. It's just a good show.
You're about to get lit up.
You know those mugs are going to become like a thing you're going to see at like, what's that store at the mall now? It's not Hot Topic. It's like Lunchbox or something. You know what I'm talking about?
Like, no.
No?
No, we don't have one of those.
No,
I don't think we have one of those.
There's a store called Box Lunch. It's in all the malls in America where it's all like stuff from TV shows. I went in there once and I was like, oh, this is cool. And I bought a Doesn't Fit Me t-shirt from like the Michael Scott Run for the Cure or whatever, that like super long from The Office.
It's a hilarious one. I'm going to get us. Yeah, no, it is. I'm going to get us a Chicago's Original Burf shirt. I think we need those.
Oh, instead of the beef, the Burf.
Yeah, the Original Burf. Kyle has one, I think. So that's Suits, guys.
Yeah,
that's
go
Suits.
Watch it. Everybody else is.
Yeah, if you haven't watched Suits, now's the time to do it. It's really popular right now. It's all on Netflix. You can watch it beginning to end. And I haven't watched the last 2 seasons, so I will do that. I think I'm going to start from the beginning because I didn't have time from the time that we landed at, ass crack of dawn till now to rewatch a show. But I thought I'd know a lot more than I did. But as like you kind of do your homework, and I was watching a lot of clips on TikTok, it came back to me.
Yeah. Well, I will say too, I don't know if you know this, but it was during the final season of Suits that they kicked off the backdoor pilot for Pearson, which was the Jessica Pearson spinoff.
No.
And yeah, so that show takes Gina Torres out, gives her own show. It only lasted 10 episodes. Didn't go far.
Well, you could also watch the Korean version.
What?
You did not know this. There's a Korean spinoff of Suits happening right now as we speak.
All right,
watch some subtitles.
Sharpen up on. Yeah, I guess I could do that. Well, I will say this too, because this just came out before we were doing this episode. But the creator of Suits, who is Aaron Korsh, did an interview or posted something somewhere where he basically said, people were like, "Oh, is there going to be like new episodes? Are they going to bring the show back or like reboot it or whatever?" And he was like, he sort of shot it down in the sense of like, there would be a lot that would have to happen. First off, we're in the middle of a writer's strike and an actor strike, so that would have to get resolved first. Then a studio would actually have to approach it, and NBC owns the rights for the original series. So there'd be a lot that would have to happen first before this show ever came back. But apparently it's so popular that there's like questions of like, well, do we bring it back? Or at least people are questioning it.
Season 10.
And you have to imagine, which is funny because what's unique about this one too is that this is owned by NBC Universal, a division of them at least. And obviously they have Peacock, but this is popular because it's on, not Peacock, it's on Netflix right now.
It's not on the cock.
Correct. And so because of that, you'd have to imagine that NBC is like that meme of the guy like looking around the corner, like rubbing his hands together, because they're just like, oh, we can do to Suits what we did with The Office, which is hide it from people so they can't watch it anymore.
So awful. I know. Like, you have to pay for it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even rewatch The Office that much, but I pay for Peacock just for the off chance that I want to watch something to make me laugh.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Well, there's that for you.
There's that, friends.
Yeah. So anyway, so watch Suits.
Watch Suits, and also head over to our socials, guys. So Amanda's fun facts here. You can get our merch. We will send it to you.
We'll send
for free of dollars.
Yeah.
Just
talk to us.
Talk to us. Follow us on socials. We're on the Tick and the Talk. We're on Instagram. We're over on the Book of Faces. If you are a parent that's above the age of 75, still using the Book of Faces. And we're going to do some more stuff over there. So follow us, and then you can keep up with what we're doing.
Cool.
All right.
We should do credits on the show. We actually
really should. We really should.
Right. We'll do that next episode.
Okay.
So, all right. See you guys.
All
Bye.
right. Bye, guys.
What did you just say to me?
What did you just say to me?
What did you just say to me?